I put the entire organization on hold for a week because the new manager wasn't happy with my schedule. Basically, I work at a very large community center, which is a non-profit. We have a ton of things there, a daycare center, an open college, physical therapy for the elderly and people with disabilities. We have 6 huge senior housing buildings throughout the city, classes for migrants and the unemployed. There are cafeterias and a restaurant and much more. I love my job. I've been promoted over and over again. Starting out as an IT specialist, I was the only IT specialist in the entire organization. When I started, we had about 80 people, including teachers at our open college. Now there are over 200 of us. Overall, the atmosphere was relaxed and non-toxic. Since I had a mountain of work and was the only one dealing with everything related to zeros and ones, I had to plan my time a little differently than everyone else. So I had 100% flexible hours. I worked when I saw fit. I was on a salary. I was paid monthly, not hourly. The CEO approved of my flexible schedule because I could support the entire IT infrastructure of the organization without downtime. So I came and went as I saw fit to get the job done. That's how it worked for about 12 years. Everyone was happy and respected me because I not only got my job done, but I did it in such a way that we had no downtime. There were downtimes of an hour or less, but only if someone's work computer broke. I always had spares ready. I was also on call 24/7 and could even come to the office during vacation if needed. I also worked weekends and sometimes nights during the week. At the time, we had quite a lot of servers, 8 server machines running Microsoft alone, 4 Linux servers, and a couple of BSDs for the open college. I had my own schedule. I did minor maintenance jobs after work hours, medium-sized ones also after work hours and until night, and major ones on weekends. During these times, I lived right in the office, since the concept of overtime didn't exist for me. My management and I had an agreement. If I worked more than 8 hours, I'd get paid time off the next day. So, if I showed up on Monday at 8, waited for everyone to leave, and started minor maintenance that usually took 23 hours, then the next day I'd show up 2-3 hours late. And if the work dragged on, I could take a whole day off. I always notified the entire organization that maintenance was coming up and that I'd handle it and take X amount of time off the next day. There were no problems with anyone. Everything was going as usual, until we hired a new project manager, a middle-aged woman with the most piercing blue eyes that seemed to stare into your soul and suck out all the joy and will to live. And she was a corporate manager. This was her first experience working for a non-profit, so she was shocked by how relaxed our environment was. She was picky about everything. I won't list everything, because only one thing matters: working hours. I couldn't understand how she managed to boss our damn director around. If she was just a project manager, well, by that point, I was already a system administrator. Oh well, it was time for major maintenance, updates for the accounting software, and some smaller tasks for the open college. As always, I sent out notifications to the organization's mailing list that the major updates would begin in the evening, be finished by the morning, and that I wouldn't be in the office tomorrow. If there were any problems, email me or call. I never specified an exact time because something could always go wrong. If something breaks during updates, it's my job to fix it, and then who knows how long it will take. In the evening, everyone goes home. I wait until the last employee logs out of the system and start working. Routine, database conversion, which needs to be done every time the accounting or payroll software is updated, takes time, but only about 6 hours, since the database is only for accounting. I finished and went home. In the morning, I wake up around 7 o'clock, make coffee, sit down at my gaming computer and think, aha, nothing but EV Online all day. At about 9 o'clock AM, my work phone rings. I pick it up. It's the project manager. I'll call her PMS from now on. PMS is yelling into the phone. I don't remember the exact words. Where the hell are you? At home. It's my day off. Oh well, we have a situation here. I need you here right now. Okay, I'll be there in 15 minutes. I lived pretty close to work at the time. On the way, I think, did I screw something up last night? No way. I tested everything, and if something had gone wrong, the secretary from the accounting department would have called me if it had to do with the college's work. Okay, we'll find out now. I burst into the office and go straight to the PMS office. Me, hey, what happened? My printer is out of toner. Bring a new one. Ran out of toner. That's the situation. The toners are on a shelf in the storage room on the first floor. All desktop printers are the same and use the same toner. So why didn't you get it yourself? I explained all this to you a week ago. I'm not changing any toners. Boy, do your job. Okay, whatever you say. And I went to the storage room to get a new toner. We had a policy. Each employee maintains their own printer. Putting in paper. Changing the toner, it's as easy as putting on your fucking shoes. I didn't do such minor tasks because I was already overloaded. I came back, changed the toner, and went home. She actually stopped whining for a while, and I thought everything was fine. But after a couple more days and nights of maintenance, she called an administrative meeting. There was me, our new payroll accountant, who was also the HR manager, the director, the office manager, and PMS. PMS starts the meeting. Again, I don't remember the exact words. I want to talk about work hours and how the author slacks off and takes time off without permission. I thought everyone in our team had the same rules. Isn't that right? I'm sorry, but while the rules are the same for everyone, work hours are not. We have different jobs, and a uniform schedule simply doesn't work for us. Were you at home when people here had computer problems? Yes, and they call me if there's a problem, and 99.9% of the time, we resolve it over the phone. But your home is not your workplace. It's your office? Yes, but since I sometimes work late and even at night, I take paid time off immediately after, as we agreed with management. Well, in general, all work should be done during normal working hours. Why would you even work at night or on weekends? Because no one here wants to have a break in their work. To be clear, at that point, we had about 120 employees. At least 80 of them used workstations or laptops. Even the damn fitness instructors. All the information has gone digital. A physical therapist sees a client, does their work, and then has to enter a report into the computer. All the plans for clients are done on the computer. The kindergarten uses computers every day to stay in touch with parents, and so on. Now everything works through computers. PMS nonsense. You can do your work during working hours, just like everyone else. I look at the director because I knew that HR and the office manager didn't give a damn about this, and for some reason the director tells me, yes, PMS and I have discussed this issue several times with the entire team, and from now on, our old agreement is no longer valid. You must do all the work during working hours. A lot of people don't like that you can take paid time off. Are you sure? Absolutely 110% sure. All my work, server and network maintenance is also during working hours. We can make a deal, a new written agreement about this, like they did with my flexible schedule. Yeah, come by in the evening before closing. I'll have the agreement ready. Okay. And I went off to continue doing what I was doing before that stupid meeting. You can already guess what happened next. There was not a drop of toxicity in our work team. Everyone was happy. And then bam! Some corporate goblin comes and creates tension. Oh well, I'll teach them a lesson soon. I go to the director in the evening, and we sign the agreement about my new working hours. I check the document and tell the director that he forgot something. There is no mention of how much notice I have to give employees about upcoming maintenance, only that I am required to do all work during business hours from 8:15 to 15:30. Also, since I'm salaried, overtime is not allowed unless there is a separate agreement. And hoops, the old agreement, under which my overtime was compensated with an hour of paid rest time, in the new one there's no document. So, absolutely no overtime. Period. But I didn't tell him that. He just shrugged and said, send everyone a simple email in the morning if you're going to do maintenance that day. Okay, I'll do that. Well, let's begin the waiting game. I love my job and all the people here, but now I'm about to become the most hated person in the organization, at least for a while. A couple of weeks go by. I do some minor maintenance work, and the downtime is only an hour or two. I usually schedule it during lunchtime to keep the downtime minimal, because I'm waiting for the big event, and my patience is rewarded. A few months later, accounting and payroll get huge updates. The same thing that usually caused me to spend all weekend in the office and sleep on the floor in a sleeping bag with a couple of hours to sleep. I was still thinking, maybe I should warn the director that we were approaching a big update. No, I won't. I even saved a few small ones updates specifically for this occasion. I've never felt so angry in my life. And then the day arrives. I get to the office at exactly 8:15 and send out a message to the entire organization. Good morning. Today is maintenance day. Prepare for downtime. This maintenance affects the entire organization, as I need to update all the servers and several routers. There will also be a huge update to the financial software. It is critical and must be done. I will start work at 11 o'clock. Thank you for your understanding. Sincerely, the author. Remember, I never told anyone how long the maintenance would take. I am doing my other things. And then the day ding ding, 11 o'clock. Time to begin. Step 1. First, I kick everyone off the network. Easy. I have a program. Step 2. I run the OS update on each server and go get coffee. Now everyone is offline and no one can access anything. File server offline. Print server offline, database server offline. They can't even access the copy machine because they need to log into an Active Directory ID to use it. With a card, they still have access to the desktop and local programs. But company policy requires that all data be stored only on file servers. Saving files to laptops and workstations is prohibited. They also don't have internet access because every server is currently pulling updates from the network. I specifically made sure all Linux and Unix boxes were downloading everything possible. And then my phone starts ringing. I'm IT. How can I help? Shouts. Yes, I have a big maintenance today. I sent an email about it this morning. No, I don't know how long this will take. All day at least. Maybe. We'll see. Click. They hang up. At 12 o'clock, people start coming back from lunch. The entire network is still down. At 1 o'clock, calls start coming in asking how much longer this will go on. Some people come to my office when they can't get through. I simply answer that it's impossible to estimate the time. With such big updates, it's no more than a couple of days. A couple of days? That's what shook the whole office. Everyone suddenly started hives. People started coming to me, yelling and complaining. Why did you do this to us? Why? Cancel the updates. I need to work. Stop. I just shrugged. Sorry, I can't help it. Cancellers can't be stopped once the process has started. Just be patient. Even the director came to me. First angry, then puzzled. I explained that maintenance is maintenance. It is what it is, and it won't change anything. At least not right now. Everyone will just have to endure it until I finish. I'm just doing my job. So I read IT magazines and drank too much coffee for the rest of the day while I waited for the servers to update. Then 3:30 p.m. came and I went home. Some were still sitting in their offices, looking at me with the most perplexed expressions, asking where I was going. Home. See you tomorrow. The next day, I checked the servers in the morning. Almost everything is ready. Unix and Linux are in perfect order. I just need to reboot all the Windows servers. I do this. I could reboot them all at once, but I was getting angrier by the minute and rebooted them one by one, waiting for each one to fully boot while I logged in and checked the updates before moving on to the next. And, of course, after each server, I took out my laptop and wrote a detailed maintenance report. No one reads these reports, but the office manager demands them. They go straight to the archive and into the trash in a year. By the time I was done with the servers, it was almost 2 o'clock p.m. and I hadn't even had lunch yet. I went, came back at 15:10 and started planning the next day. I need to install updates for the financial applications and write a checklist to make sure everything goes smoothly. But I didn't have time to finish the list and the plan. So it was 3:30 again and I went home. I mentioned that it was already Thursday. I started maintenance on Tuesday. Oops. I finished my checklist and the financial software update plan early and started installing updates one by one before lunch. I could have smashed everything at once, but I decided to follow the instructions and strictly follow the checklist. By the way, the vendor of this software recommends installing updates one by one. Everything went smoothly, and I launched the database conversion. Since I'm not full-time while this was taking forever, I simultaneously finished the remaining minor updates to other server programs. Well, and then, as usual, 3:30 and I went home. Friday. I was the only person in our company of 120 who had actually been working since 11 o'clock Tuesday morning. Everyone else was furious. They had to come into the office and do nothing. Some started tidying up their desks. Someone was sorting through paper files. Most were just drinking coffee and reading magazines. The internet had been working again since Wednesday, but no one seemed to notice. I felt sorry for the physical therapists who had to write everything down for their clients with pen and paper and then transfer it to the computer. The restaurant and cafeterias were fine. I didn't touch the cash register systems. The database conversion was finished on Friday morning. So, we'll see. Okay. I think I can start launching services on the servers now. I wasn't in a hurry. One at a time, of course. I used every first one I was entitled to and took a full lunch break. Finally, at exactly 3:00 p.m., I sent an email to the entire organization. Maintenance complete. You can log in again and access the network. Thank you for your patience. The next major update is expected in 3 for months. The director, office manager, accountant, and HR stayed home for most of the week. I think I saw them on Wednesday morning, and then not anymore. The project manager was also angry on Wednesday, but she left me alone when I explained that if I had to run to meetings with every department about updates, the downtime would only drag on, since I wouldn't be actively working to fix it. The following week, we had another management meeting, and my old agreement regarding flexible hours and overtime compensation from the Gulamai went into effect again. I had a written document, and no one ever complained about my paid time off for overtime, and I wasn't particularly worried about being fired, since it's hard to fire an employee in our country, and since I had a written agreement regarding working hours and the employment contract clearly outlined my responsibilities, they had no chance of firing me. Update: PMS behaved calmly for the rest of her career. I even went to her home, fixed her computer, installed a new printer, and set up Wi-Fi. She retired a few years ago. In fact, she was sorry it happened and took full responsibility. We had a couple more long downtimes, but they were always hardware failures. When the servers die, you can't find replacements in an hour, but now I'm prepared for that too. Anyway, I'm sure many of you are wondering, how did the PMS manage to boss my boss around? The answer is quite simple, but first I need to explain how the work culture works in our non-profit, and most likely in any similar organizations in our country. I am the Executive Systems Administrator. Sounds like a top job, right? It seems like I should have a ton of power. Yes, the answer is yes and no. I have clients that I work for. Who are these clients? Every employee in our organization. I serve them. I work for them. I don't work for some faceless shareholder or CEO who just wants to line his own pocket. I work for my clients. And what about the other executives? Managers and even our CEO are the same. Their job is to make sure everyone can do their jobs and is happy doing it. I know this may sound strange to those used to the rigid corporate world, but that's how it works here. If an employee is unhappy about something, the manager will hear it and be responsible for addressing it. The chain of command is short and simple. We only have a department head. This is usually the most experienced and skilled employee. They perform managerial tasks in addition to all the regular work. The next level is the executive managers. There are no middlemen. We don't even have an office manager anymore. Of course, this doesn't mean employees can do whatever they want. No, if someone starts slacking off and not fulfilling their responsibilities, the manager or director will intervene and bring them back on track. But if an employee has complaints, problems, or wants to change something, they are free to go directly to the director, and they have the right to be mad as hell if they believe the issue requires it. Ultimately, this creates an environment where work gets done, even if it may seem otherwise from the outside. You could say that we are all equal here. No one bosses anyone else around for the sake of demonstrating power. But at the same time, everyone is free to boss anyone around if the situation requires it. And also, when I or someone else writes stories like this because of a personal twist, they can sound more dramatic than they actually are. For example, yes, I really did make life difficult for other employees and put work on hold for a week, but this happens in other companies too, without any intention. Sometimes it just happens. It's happened to me several times too. For example, a power outage that lasted so long that the backup battery died and the entire server room was left without power right in the middle of my vacation. Or how our old server room once flooded during a spring storm. It was hilarious. The longest downtime in our organization. 2 weeks. Comments. The basic principle, if it doesn't work, don't fix it. But conscious management, not inertia, requires understanding why a certain rule was created and what positive and negative factors are associated with it. If the PMS and the director had bothered to ask why that agreement was even introduced, what would be the consequences if the working hours had been recorded and this incident would not have happened? Author: I'm almost certain the director knew how it would end, but he still allowed it to happen, although I never asked him about it. Well, that's all. Let me know in the comments if you think the author did the right thing in organizing all of this. And I don't know for sure, but I think this whole thing probably took place in Britain. Where else are there such rabid unions? I mean, unions that make it impossible to fire someone. Chances are, in the US, they would have found a replacement very quickly. Well, thanks for listening to this story to the end. Watch our previous videos, which you can see here. Also, be sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and good luck!